Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Universities of Wisconsin and State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos have reached a deal that will restore employee pay raises across the system and funding for a new engineering building on the UW-Madison campus.
In exchange, the University of Wisconsin will freeze hiring for diversity positions, as well as drop an affirmative action faculty hiring program at UW-Madison and create a position focused on conservative political thought. The deal states the hiring freeze will last through the end of 2026 and shift at least 43 diversity positions to focus on student success. The universities will also remove any statements supporting diversity on student applications. Several UW employees have expressed frustration over the deal. Universities of Wisconsin President Jay Rothman says negotiations were difficult. The agreement will help the system continue to function.
What is important to note in this is no one is losing their job. Our commitment to DE&I remains. Diversity and inclusion are core values of our universities. But we are also open to changing how some of those positions can more directly benefit student retention and graduation.
Assembly Speaker Robin Vos made a statement following the deal saying, quote, "Our caucus objective has always been aimed at dismantling the bureaucracy and division related to DEI and reprioritizing our universities toward an emphasis on what matters, student success and achievement," end quote.